Nether Mage, that is incredibly early. How we doing, boys and girls? Good morning. Welcome in. Welcome. You may not be able to see this, but my client is updating, and it's sat here doing seemingly nothing. Oh, we are downloading now. We are getting some updates on the go. Lovely stuff. Chances this might kill my internet. I should have probably done this first. Oh, it's thinking about it. Downloading huge updates whilst also starting a stream. Maybe not the most sensible. Let's get a tweet out there. Let's let people know we're alive. It is Wednesday, I believe. I think, if my brain tells me the correct things. Alpha. No, that's not how you spell alpha. Alpha tailoring. And engineering, I think. Botscast, welcome in. Good morning to you. How we doing? I say good morning. Good morning for me, obviously. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you be. Team Australia is probably not the morning anymore. Right, Alpha and tailoring. New zone to explore. They've apparently populated one of the zones with herbs and ore. Even though we don't have access to mining or herbalism. So, we can go and have a look at them. We can have a fly about and we can have a look at stuff. Try and, see what the distribution is like. See what herbs are in the zone even. One big question I've got after playing with Inscription is, are they going to lock off like a certain herb to a certain zone? Or are they just going to, throw everything in all of the zones and let people work it out? Start mapping out a farming route now. I would imagine there's not too much point doing that on the basis that they'll probably move them all. They in the Shadowlands beta, I remember pretty clearly that there was a bunch of nodes to begin with, and then one day they just all changed, and added a bunch more of them. So I wouldn't bother trying to work out farming routes yet. What is me Twitch web address? It'd be that one, and it'd be one of these, and one of these. We need a funky GIF for tailoring. I'll do. Who doesn't love a bit of Smurf action? Who doesn't love a bit of Smurf action? Get on that tweet, boys and girls. Likes, retweets, follows, all of that jazz. I'll sell out today. It's sellout mode. Just let the Discords know. Usually I do all of this before I actually press the go live button, but hey, I'm here. So let's just do it. Alrighty. Are we finished updating? We good? We good? We are good. Oh, one thing I also wanted to see with my own eyes. Public test realm 9.2.7. If we, well, we know it's we know it's release candidate now. Alpha tailoring, you know, Cape Man is up for liking that tweet. Well, let's see. Let's see what capes there are to do. Let's take a little bit of a looky. We're gonna have to clean out our characters, delete our characters of previous, create some new characters. There's also a new level cap, I think, a level cap of 65 this time. So my 67 hunter's probably gonna get scuffed. So we'll delete him. Let's make a new Mantheus character real quick. We'll go. Who should we go with this week? I don't know. Should we go Worgen this week? I don't know. It doesn't make no difference, does it really? Yep. Like that. There we go. That's how we... Oh, no. Hang on. Back it up, son. Dragonflight level up, that one. Hang on. What is this shenanigans? Body 1 and body 2? You know what body 1 and body 2 are more formally referred to, right? God. World of Warcraft's gone woke. Right. The body 1 then, I guess. I identify as a pink-eyed wolf anyway. It's fine. Right. You're good. Let's delete this fella off. Every time there's a new patch on the alpha, I delete all the characters and make new ones, just simply because it's suggested that that's what we do, for starters. Secondly, it's less likely things to bug out then. Right. Alright, let's have a looky. Let's get going. What you doing, dog? What's up, doggo? Chilling. Haha, right, yes. There's going to be lots of warlocks kicking about this time, I think. I have a sneaky feeling there might be lots of warlocks kicking about today. Warlocks is one of the new... can I find the post? Where's the official news post for this? Some people will question why females only deserve to be number 2. It's because they're not number 1. Where's the post they did for... Hang on, where's me tweets? Where's me tweets? There's the button I'm looking for. Right, let's take a looky what we're playing with this week then. Nope, we need the latest one. Right, so where's the start of this? Where's the start of this? 11 hours ago. Here we go. Onoran Plains. Thaldrassus is no longer accessible. 2 dungeons to test. The Azure Vault and the Brackenhide Hollow. May have a little bit of a look at those at some point. Level 62 character templates. Max level 65. Mechanomes have been re-enabled. I didn't even realise they disabled Mechanomes, but sure. Right, what do we got? New class talent system for a few people. Evokers. They've changed a few bits and pieces. Oh, look! Peer pressure. Peer pressure works. Peer pressure works, apparently. Saw down to a 4-minute cooldown. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. It still feels excessive for it to be a 4-minute cooldown. How many other 4-minute cooldowns do we have in the game? 4 and 5-minute cooldowns are usually reserved for, like, stupid OP, you know, cooldowns. This is just a movement thing. Just let people go places, for Christ's sake. If you're re-rolling as an evoker, it's, you know, part and parcel that you go in places. I don't know. Some people are never happy though, right? 4-minute cooldown on Saw instead of 5. Sure. New bunch of talents. I know I've not to this date looked into the evoker talents in a great amount of detail. I had a little bit of a look through them just to be able to, you know, sort of play test it a little bit outside of the starting zone, but all the class testing and stuff like that, it's kind of nice to, you know, see it develop in some cases. But unless you plan on maining it, it's all going to be completely different by the time it goes live anyway. Hunter stuff, somewhat more relevant to me considering I main a hunter. But once again, I don't really care that much. I'm weird. Like, I care far much more for professions and silly things like that. So, if you want to play with the new abilities, then you do you. Sentinel Owl. Call forth a Sentinel Owl to a target location, granting you unhindered vision. Your attacks ignore line of sight against any target in this area. For every 200 focus spent, grants you 1 Sentinel Owl. 1 second of Sentinel Owl when cast, up to a maximum of 12. Cool. I mean, absolutely 100% a PvP ability. That's going to slap in arenas. Okay, marks. Yeah. Cool, great, excellent. Where's the stuff I care about? Where's the stuff we're actually here for? Haha, warlocks. This is why there's going to be 12 million warlocks kicking about. Warriors. That's just an update to last. Professions. Here we go. Here we go. The recipe panel has been updated for better ease of use and clarity. Unlearnt and pre-Dragonflight recipes are now found via filters. Favorite recipes unchanged and the expansion agnostic, so you will always see them even if the expansion is not filtered. Good for reminding you to press that daily cooldown button for your Mists of Pandaria discoveries that you're still doing. Recipe skill up chance is now represented through icons instead of recipe name text color. This change is more in line with the new recipe frame design, whilst being more accessible to individuals with a color vision deficiency. Oh, smart. Okay, so we're not going to have green, yellow, and orange anymore. Apparently, they're going to be icons or numbers or something. We'll see. Unlearned recipe names now show a grey colour instead of white. Whoop-de-doo. Recrafting equipment has its own dedicated section in the recipe panel. Please note that for this alpha build, recrafting is not yet implemented. Okay, we saw that with blacksmithing. It popped up randomly for blacksmiths, the recrafting options, yet none of the buttons worked, so. Seen a lot of feedback on the mage talent trees. Love the changes they've done in response. Well, I mean, there is definitely good justification to have a look through these things. But, you know, that's your end game raiders, your end game mythic pluses, your PvPers, the people who care about every talent and in what weighting and what balance. I'm far too easygoing about the classes for that. I mean, I don't play the game overly competitively, but yeah, I did hear things about the mages. I did hear that there was, let's say, some unhappy mages. And if there's one class in the game that Blizzard will 100% of the time always get right, it's the mage. The mage is the baby, is their absolute baby. There has never been a patch in World of Warcraft history where a mage has not been at least good. Never, ever, 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 ever. One of the 3 specs has always been good at any point, ever. So they don't mess up the mage. Gathering nodes. In this so this was what I was saying earlier. In this alpha build, players might notice that there's a large amount of mining and herbalism nodes in the plains. We're eager for feedback on how these feel. We're still in the process of setting up the mining and herbalism professions, and players will not be able to gather these nodes until those professions have been enabled. In the meantime, please let us know if there are any nodes in unusual positions and are not easily accessed. Okay, so they've thrown a bunch of nodes in a zone, and they just want us to take a look about, take a little wander, a little look about, see if any of them feel odd. Sure. Engineering, this is one of 2 we'll do today. I'm more interested in tailoring, if I'm honest, but tailoring might not take too long. Famous last words, I know. But tailoring might not take too long because it's, you know, it's probably going to be blacksmithing. It's probably going to be leatherworking, just, you know, in disguise. Engineering could be quite fun, though. Engineers are able to craft wrists for each armor type, which can be socketed with different tinkers that have a variety of on-use effects, such as temporary invisibility. Mythic Plus is going to love that. Or summoning an Alarmo turret. Oh, God. We've added combat res consumable for non-engineers. Oh, big. Big. Time to start selling combat reses. Wow. Okay. Convincingly realistic jumper cables. These are the weaker version of the engineering variant, the reusable jumper cables. And we're interested to hear feedback on how they play out over the course of the alpha. Well, that's another one to put on your recraft list then. Absolutely another one to put on the recraft list. Keep those listed on the auction house. There's a commodity that will make people rich. Selling the ability to combat res. All I see when reading this is yet another bag slot taken. Oh dear, we're going to have so many problems with bag slots by the time this all goes live. What else have we got? Various safety components can be used as optional reagents for crafting engineering items. These safety components can reduce the chance of tinker malfunctions or outright prevent catastrophic malfunctions. See there? Oh dear, Blizzard. We're going to make a problem and we're going to sell you the solution. Nobody else creates gear that just might not work. Engineers, on the other hand, you silly tinkerers. Sure. Maybe I'm over cynical this morning. Speaking of malfunctions, the chance for engineering items to blow up in the user's face now scale their success chance with engineering specialization traits and engineering skill level. There'll be a meaningful difference in success rate between new engineers that have lower skill and specialization traits and engineers that have maxed out their knowledge in the professions. Oh, good God. Oh, good God. Oh, that's going to please every Mythic Pluser in existence ever. That now forcibly makes not only engineering mostly mandatory for Mythic Plus, but will also be that they actually have to use it. And they actually have to level it as well. It's not enough to just go to the trainer and have engineering anymore. Nope. Unless you want to explode every time you press a button, you're going to need to level that shit up. Oh, good God. Oh, okay. 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 I like the Kiss Curse aspect, but on the basis that it's only attached to one profession, always has felt weird for me. Time to sell some ores to everybody leveling it. You know what my first Dragonflight profession leveling guide's going to be, don't you? The one that I can guarantee I'll get mad views on. Yep. In addition to the above, there's a plethora of new bombs, tinkers, and consumables that the engineering profession can make. Please send us your feedback. Alright, cool. We'll play with engineering a little bit. Tailoring, though. Let's take a look at tailoring. Actually, thinking about it, if we're going to make a tailor, we probably should make a cloth-wearing class. I should probably make a mage, shouldn't I, really? In this alpha build, tailoring's been enabled, blah, 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 blah. Tailoring, much like other armor crafting professions, has a plethora, love that word, of new set and item equip effects, and we're particularly interested in hearing out how these new effects feel. Spell threads are back, making leg enchants for intellect users. Cool. Couldn't come up with something new, but sure. It's nice to see they're back at least. I'm not entirely sure why they went away. Unlocking specializations requires 25 skill points. Spend skill points to unlock bonuses. Hey, what is engineer? What? Oh, okay. Really badly formatted. Sure. Now we're going into specializations. Engineering specs. We're going to have explosives, optimized efficiency. That's only 2. Okay. Tailoring, we have Draconic Needlework. Alright, well this we can just go and look at in direct with our own eyes. This is an interesting one. This was a big topic of discussion for me last week. And is interesting to me to note that somebody's listening. Because somebody's made a point of definitively stating that the Draconic treaties are infinitely consumable, but this will be fixed in a future build. These are the things that scribes make that they can then sell to make talent, to give people profession knowledge, which I was incredibly concerned about, that if you could craft these and you could sell them and you could indefinitely use them, those goblins with deep pockets could constantly keep up work orders to buy these things and get a huge advantage. They will be single-use items that will refresh weekly for a small boost to your profession knowledge. That's fine. Buy 1 book a week, keep on top of it. That's all you need to do. Still going to be big business for scribes to begin with, though, because everybody's going to want one every week. Blizzard, hey guys, we want you to have fun with professions this patch. Also, Blizzard, yeah, you're going to have to be engineers now. Well, you would think you don't need engineering in Dragonflight, but you do. Yeah. Do you guys not have engineers? We'll find out. We'll find out. We'll have a look. Party frame and cast bar minimap and encounter bars have been added to the UI thing. All right, cool. Let's go and actually have a look at this then. What have we got to play with? What have we got to play with? Can we go take a little looky? Where's our profession dudes? Have we got a new? Is there a new fellow up here? You're a new fella. Mimsy Spazalrock's evil twin. Okay. You're going to flog a bunch of an ultimate gnomish army knife. And what are these? Oh, some of the optional reagents. So we don't have to bother crafting those. Bunch of missives. Oh, they've put missives on a vendor now. That's handy. That means we can actually start playing with those without having to piss about making them. Blue silken lining. While above 90% health, gain mastery. Ooh. That's a odd one. Sounds very mage-like, but sure. Okay. Right, train me tailor. Should we do tailoring first? In fact, that's not up to you to decide. We're doing tailoring first. Sorry, we're doing tailoring first. Right, train me in tailoring. I want to see tailoring. Let's go. Boom. Tailoring. Go. Let's get tailoring on the bar. Oh, this is starting to look a bit neater and tidier. This is starting to look a bit neater and tidier. This looks to be responsive now rather than taking up the whole flipping thing. This has been tweaked and tuned a little bit. We now have materials show unlearnt. Okay. So now we can see it. Let's, for the moment, see everything that's unlearned. So what have we got to play with then for tailors then? We're going to be making unraveling. Dragon Isles unraveling. Unravel 5 cloth from the Dragon Isles and spin it into thread. This will destroy the cloth. Huh. Okay. Okay. Tattered wilder cloth. Decayed wilder cloth. Singed wilder cloth. Frost-bitten wilder cloth. And regular ass wilder cloth. 5 different types of cloth. Which we then spin into thread. So a nice little intermediate there for tailoring rather than just taking cloth. Are every tailor going to be able to gather these? Okay. This only goes further to emphasize the fact that gathering should be baseline. If they're upping, you know, why can a jewel crafter not pick up a piece of ore to prospect, but a tailor can happily pick up lots of different types? Okay, well, I'm sure we'll find out. Let's not complain yet. Right, bolts then. As a weave bolt. This bolt of cloth is effervescent with the magic of the blue dragons. Alright, cool. Vibrant wilder cloth bolt. And then a bunch of mats. So I guess we start down here. 5 wilder cloth. A well-kept cloth found on the most powerful and rare humanoids in the Dragon Isles. It's useful to tailors. This seems to be the equivalent of lightless silk, but they're also calling the basic stuff wilder cloth as well, so I don't really know. Vibrant one takes a wilder cloth bolt. How many so 5 goes into making 1 bolt. We need vibrant shards. Vibrant shards, that's got to be an enchanting thing, right? Surely? Bloody wilder cloth is just awakened blood. Awakened air and order for chrono cloth bolts. And azure weave bolts just use slightly different of these components. Alright, cool. Optional reagents then. We've got 2 optional reagents to be playing with. Blue silken lining. Increases the difficulty, but whilst you're above 90% health, you'll gain mastery. An undefined quantity of mastery by attaching that to a piece of gear. Bronzed grip wrappings. Provide the following property. Your spells and abilities have the chance to deal bonus damage or healing. Very generic. Very generic and what will be seemingly mandatory. Because if it just straight up does more damage, well, do you want to do more damage? Yes, I do. Really good way to make this optional reagent mandatory then, if it just does more deeps. Question the use of the word optional on that one then. What does it need? What does it take though? A chronocloth bolt and then a spool of wilder thread. A thread created by unraveling any type of wilder cloth. So yeah, maybe they're doing off with buying copious amounts of vendor mats, which is an odd take. Not that I'm saying that it's a bad thing, it just from a overall gameplay economy perspective of the vendor mats, vendors are there for a reason. Vendor mats are there for a reason. A, it limits the vendor shuffles, and it creates floor prices for materials, but B, it also acts as a really good way to take a shitload of gold out of the game. Keep inflation in check. We've got some finishing reagents then, the Essence of Tear that we've seen hundreds of times before now. Increasing your skill by 30 when crafting. Vibrant Polishing Cloth. With the aid of this mystical cloth and some sleight of hand, gain +3 bonus crafting skill from inspiration. And +6 multi-craft. These have always felt pointless to me, because your inspiration and your multi-craft is a proc-based system anyway. With it being a proc-based system to begin with, you could use one of these vibrant finishing crafting reagents, and if it doesn't proc, you don't gain any bonus. Which means you could end up spending gold on using a finishing reagent and it not do anything. It's like it's basically saying when you pull the jackpot lever, you might get jackpot +1. It's risky business. There's no profit to be made from tailor vendoring at the end of an expansion for tailoring. Well, there usually is, but floor prices will always be there. There'll always be a floor price, and the floor price will be based upon what is the most expensive venderable item that can be made with the least amount of materials, and that ultimately determines what the floor price is for goods. Just because there's a serious oversupply of goods is why, you know, the profit ends up normalizing to 0. With the auction house becoming region-wide, it's a neat idea for players who also just provide basic reagents. Wonder if the 5% auction house cut will effectively take more gold out than the typical vendor costs. If there's good trade that happens that way, yeah, it definitely will. The 5% auction house cut is the #1 way that Blizzard uses to take gold out of the game. And it takes an ungodly amount of gold out of the game. And with the auction house going region-wide, they'll far more easily be able to track that as well. Abrasive polishing cloth. Smooth away the roughest edges of your design, gaining resourcefulness and inspiration. These are... they feel like they should be for jewel crafters more than anything. Feels a bit weird. Chromatic embroidery thread. Here we go. Increases the bonus crafting skill from inspiration by 15% and crafting speed by 15%. Okay. When crafting, to note it's not been implemented, so we can't test this, but increased profession skill gain by +1 skill point, but the crafting difficulty is increased. Increasing skill gain. So are you going to want to, when you're fulfilling work orders, when you hit 50 points and you go above 50 points, 50 to 100 is the slog that requires work orders. if you slap one of these on anything that you then craft, could you gain 2 skill points from it instead of 1? Cheeky little, maybe a cheeky little catch-up system if you're not able to fulfill that many work orders. That you can make the work orders more valuable to you. That's an interesting one. I remember polishing cloth for gems or something. Are the finishing reagents consumed on use, or do they give a buff? They're usually consumed on use. This is the thing. They feel quite risky. If they were basically free, you might just use them just because. But even still, in a world where people try to min-max their prices and keep their costs low, spending more gold on something for only a chance for it to make any difference is something that people probably won't do. Garments then. What are we making? Gear-wise. Loads of gear. Crafted, insert PvP name here. Okay, so a lot of it's still very placeholder. Girdle, hand wraps, head cover, shawl, shoulder spikes, slacks, slippers, and vestments. Oh, and wrist wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Which one then is the... Is it shawl? Is that going to be the cape? There you go. There's your back piece. Where's Nether Mage when you need him? There's your cape. There's your endgame cape. Spark of Ingenuity, Primal Chaos, Spool of Wilder Thread. Wow, that's really lacking any actual mats. The bonus seems very minor to spend mats on it. Check if they've changed the recipe difficulty increase for heroic/mythic optional reagents. Default recipe difficulty is 300. I can click on this and it doesn't even give me... Oh, because I haven't learned this yet. I need to get to the point where I learn these patterns before these buttons work. We'll do that in a bit. Okay, this is just quite simply a set of gear. The material requirements for these seem very basic. I mean, a spool and a piece of cloth. Not even a piece of fancy cloth in some cases. All feels remarkably simple. What are these then? Explorers, tailored cloak, robe, treads, bands. These are your... Oh, these are blue in terms of being... They're rare, but they're requires level 61. Okay, so that's your basic gear. Oh, we've got garments, then we've got Azerweave garments. Okay, so there's going to be specific bits of kit that are a little bit better than your default kit. So this is your default cloth set. The vibrant set's just going to be a default run-of-the-mill 393 gear. Then you're going to have slightly more interesting bits of gear that will probably require you to do a lot more to even get the pattern for in the first place. Your damaging spells and abilities have the chance to trigger a burst of arcane energy.
Let's make sweet profit together.
To
Yo,
all enemies
summer
in the
almost
yard.
over, rip. So from Alpha, when you think Dragon expansion will actually go live? Have this see in US in December, so hope I am not missing it.
By all means, I think they're on track. The way that they're pacing the alpha testing gives a good impression, at the very least, that they're on track. It also goes to showcase why Shadowlands is dead, because they have clearly not been working on anything Shadowlands related for a long time at this point. And they do kind of appear to have a relatively good system in place for Dragonflight so far. So I'm hopeful that it will come out end of November, early December. But appreciate the tier 1. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I wouldn't necessarily say summer's almost over. It's still 25 degrees for me here. We've still got a couple of weeks of sun, I think. I hope, anyway. Mid-November for the launch is the plan, I think. I mean, that just makes sense to me. A mid to late November launch just makes sense. We'll see. So, these little bits of gear are going to be... What's the downside of these? The downside of these bits of gear... The downside is that you can't specify the secondary stats. You can't specify the secondary stats, but they have an on-equip bonus. There's even a mini set on the go here. The Azurweave Mantle set look. Robe, slippers, and if you get the 3-piece set of this, well, you only need the 2-piece. Your damaging and healing spells and abilities have the chance to invoke latent Azurweave properties. Ultimately meaning that dealing damage has the chance to grant piercing Azurweave, increasing your intellect by 27 for 8 seconds. And healing has the chance to grant flowing Azurweave, restoring 176 mana per cast for 8 seconds. So 27 intellect, for reference, is about 10% more intellect than this piece of gear would normally offer you. There's 289 intellect on this piece of gear, and you'll gain 27 more if you have the 3-piece set. I like the fact that some of the crafted gear has set bonuses. It gives people a strong incentive to buy more. Whoa, 6 sparks of ingenuity. They ain't fucking about with the material costs on these. 7 sparks of ingenuity, 5 sparks of ingenuity, and then only 1. It's interesting where you can clearly see these are probably much newer items that have been created, and in turn have materials that are more maybe finalized. Because we've never seen any more than a single spark of ingenuity being used on any crafting on any crafting pattern at all, and then all of a sudden there's 5, 7, and 6 being used over here. So it does go to show that they are planning on jacking up the material costs of everything once they do their balance pass, it feels. Bloody hand wraps of something. Duration of incoming, interrupt, and silence effects reduced by 10%. Well, there's a PvP pair of gloves then. Blue Dragon Rider's robe. See, this is where having everything be bind on pickup and relying greatly on the work order system, or not relying greatly on it, you have to use the work order system. Unless you happen to be a tailor yourselves. When somebody goes to the auction house, if they are not a tailor and they're looking to buy a piece of gear, they're going to go and they're going to go, right, robes. What robe should I buy? They're going to see 2 options. They're going to see a blue Dragon Rider's robe here, which is 385 intellect versus mastery. Or they're going to see 385 intellect, 2 random stats, which they can then customize at the exact same item level. Which means that one item will just very likely be dead on arrival. Because there's unlikely to be any significant cost difference between these two in terms of materials. We've got this one here, Sparks of Ingenuity Primal Chaos. Sparks of Ingenuity Primal Chaos. Although this one, for apparently no reason whatsoever, has predetermined stats on it, yet uses a Dragon Rider's Honor which is a placeholder thing that we don't really know. You're going to be able to buy these by the looks of things if you do dragon racing stuff. And is then going to need a spell thread and an Azerweave bolt to even craft it. So this is likely going to be considerably more expensive to actually craft. Yet does seemingly nothing different to what the Vibrant Wildercloth one does for less materials, which is then customizable. Now, if neither of these items were bind on pickup, if they were both bind on equip, it would allow for crafters to make them using their own materials, by the way. These are limited resource materials. That would require the tailor to actually engage in end game content in some way, shape or form, and instead of making gear for them to wear, they could make it to then sell. But if you then made one of these and one of these and put it on the auction house, you then give players a choice. Players can go to the auction house, they can see the two pieces of gear, they can see the prices of the two pieces of gear, and they can then make a decision. You're at least giving the chance for somebody to buy both of them. If you have to physically put an order in for this, why would you put an order in for a piece of gear that's not better? Why would you ever buy this one? This is why I don't like everything being bind on pickup. Because the reality is when people go to actually use the system, if you level up your tailor and you spec into one of these or the other one, the likelihood is that the Vibrant set will come through your specializations, but there'll be some rep grind or renown grind to unlock the blue Dragon Rider's robe. Oh, I don't know. Maybe some items will be exempt from the daily work order cooldown. See, that's just making a problem and then solving it again, though. That doesn't solve the problem. Like, if they're going to start pissing about doing that, then just get rid of the daily work order cooldown, you know? Okay, well let's before we worry too much about whether these items are going to be useful enough, let's take a little bit of a look at them. Blue Dragon Souls. After 2 seconds, your movements charge your next spell cast, granting up to 5 stacks of intellect. That I don't even understand. So just running about is going to give you up to 5 stacks of 13 plus 13 intellect just by running about. Okay. Interesting. Chronocloth garments. Allied clinch of time distillation. Oh, dilation. Using a spell or ability has a chance to rally 10 nearby allies to victory for 10 seconds. Whilst rallied, allies gain 38 verse. I wonder if that stacks. I wonder if you just have a whole bunch of cloth wearers rallying each other. I wonder if that stacks. Could you get 380 verse by stacking 10 mages? $393 would be just under the $398 normal raid gear. Were they lower item level than usual? I wouldn't worry too much about the item level weighting yet, because that's likely to change. That's one thing that they always do tweak with. Bloodied leg wraps of possibility. After recovering from a loss of control effect, you become empowered, increasing your haste. Can only happen once every 30 seconds. Nothing fancy on this one. Chrono cloth gloves. Another little set bonus here. Pick up two of the 3. Damage and healing spells have the chance to store away moments of time. Upon reaching 20 stacks, release your stored time and gain 213 haste. The bonuses that these sets seem to offer are very modest. They seem to be very, very modest. I mean, the piece of gear itself gives 330 haste. An extra, considering you're going to have haste then on a huge quantity of your gear, how much haste do you as a character expect to just have naturally? Is 213 additional haste going to do anything? This is what I've not tested yet. Like when we ding 70, when we're running around at level 70, what do we expect our regular haste to be at anyway? I'm not seeing any unique equip. The Radiant set, where it says placeholder Radiant. Radiant is a gear set for crafters. They've already stated that you will only be able to equip 5 pieces. I think they said 5 pieces of Radiant gear. Obviously, you can mix and match those 5 however you wish, but you'll be limited to 5. And a 2-handed weapon, for example, would count as 2 out of that 5. $393 becomes just under normal. Wouldn't quality 5 then be just over normal? Be a big motivation to go for the higher quality ones. That's probably true, actually. You can see here that 393 is your starting. If 398 is what the normal mode raid will drop, you're incentivized then to get a quality 4, or if not a quality 5 one. Have you seen how high an item level you can craft with finishing reagents? You can infuse it and boost it and stuff like that. There's the Crafter's Mark style system in this as well. There's actually 2 tiers of it. There's what do they call them? Training matrices or something. And there's also like the equivalent of a Crafter's Mark. We'll get into that in a bit. I need to learn the recipes before I can actually play with them. Bunch of profession garments. Dragon cloth tailoring vestments. You have a chance to occasionally find cloth on Dragonkin in the Dragon Isles. Oh, well, that's a cool little bonus for tailors. Equip yourself with the ability to find more cloth. That's quite cool. Now imagine if only blacksmiths could find ore, and if leather workers could skin mobs, you know, without the aid of a totally separate profession. All of this is cool, but it only goes to emphasize the strength of tailoring over the other crafting professions, that they're self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency is a huge deal. Cuts down on the amount of alts you have to have, cuts down on, it gives you a boost. Like, I've always said that leatherworking feels like 2 professions in one anyway, because you craft both leather and mail. I mean, you could argue that leatherworking, tailoring, and blacksmithing all have like their own bonus. Blacksmith tends to make weapons as well as gear, which, you know, weapons can in theory be sold to everybody. Tailoring is self-sufficient in terms of material generation. They gather their own cloth for the most part, or at least they can do. And tailoring has the advantage of producing both leather and mail, so there's just more options for you to actually make. Problem is lack of nearby dragonkin when parked on a Bruto. They're going for more independence, not less. Not likely they'll make gathering free. I don't know. There's a lot of call for it at the moment. There's a lot of call. There was an interesting Reddit thread I saw yesterday. Where was it? It wasn't directly talking about this, but the conversation very quickly swayed in that direction. Let me see if I can find it. I'm not alone when it comes to wanting gathering professions to be baseline. Oh, I wonder if I can find it. It really did start to gain traction on the WoW subreddit yesterday. The problem is I can't remember what the flipping hell it was titled. Oh, I can't find it now. Of course I can't. I've got the link if you can post it. Yeah, go ahead, yeah. If you know which one I'm talking about. Oh, that's exactly the one I was looking for. Yeah, there we go. So this, for example, I know this is a bit of a detour from where we were at, but somebody on Reddit yesterday, would you be more likely to engage with professions if logical matches were given for free? E.g., smithing comes with mining, leatherworking comes with skinning. Personally, I hate having to dedicate full characters just one quote-unquote set of professions. I'd like to do more in the realm of crafting, but want to do alchemy, smithing, leatherworking. I have to level up 3 characters to full. 1 for mining, 1 with herbalism, 1 with skinning, which is a big time sink, or spend a boatload on materials. You can always have a dedicated gathering character, but even then it's annoying having to ferry mats back and forth. What are your thoughts? So quite, nicely put to begin with. Everybody should be able to gather, mine, herb, skin, fish, collect cloth, providing they're willing to spend time to develop the skills. Everybody should be able to develop cooking. Crafting should be just where you have to choose one. Sorry, I never learned how to pick up that flower. Better move on. I'm not the only one that shares this sentiment that it's about time for gathering to become baseline. Finding a corium vein on a non-miner sucked back in the day. Oh, yes. Yes. You come across something and you're just like, that's worth something. But I, for some arbitrary reason, don't know how to pick it up. Yeah, annoying. I don't think gathering skills should be considered primary for professions and should be available to anybody. I do think they should, however, put incentives into those professions that use them. E.g., blacksmithing has unlocks that let you gather more ore from nodes. Alchemy has something similar for herbs gathered. Or say you take alchemy and inscription, you can double buff herb gathering if you really want to maximize that type of crafting. I don't think gathering skills should be considered primary professions and should be available to everybody. Yeah, there we go. I was going to say, I thought I read that backwards. Yeah, you should be able to take alchemy inscription and double buff on your ability to pick up herbs. But really the only way I see professions actually being worth it is if they make it so the system is relevant to use from level 1 and also at max level. Basically gear that leveling characters might want to craft for themselves should require resources that max level characters would be seeking, as well as making it so that the resources low levels would likely come across, like ores and herbs, will be useful to max level 2. Keep older resources relevant, not just move on to the next expansion. Okay, all of this bit's pretty much fluff. The reason it got heavily upvoted is for the first sentence. I don't think many people read past the first sentence. This was actually how inscription used to work. The glyphs you could make at apprentice level used to be used by max level characters and often were. It was absurdly satisfying as a result, and for whatever reason they decided to do away with it and make inscription a generic scaling consumables profession instead. What expansions happened is the TLDR on that one. But there seems to be a... Now, I would also argue against my own point here. Just because lots of people want it doesn't mean that it's a good thing. Just because lots of people would like the gathering profession to be baseline doesn't mean it's a good thing. But it feels odd, right? It feels odd that they're putting so much time and effort into making the crafting professions feel more worthwhile of their status as primary professions. Yet, herbalism, mining, skinning is never going to be even remotely close to what they can do with the actual proper crafting professions. Just let everybody gather herbs, let everybody pick up ore, just like everybody can cook. Everybody can level cooking, and everybody can make feasts if they want to. But just because they can doesn't mean everybody actually does. How many people do you see that still run around doing dungeons without food buffs? They're doing raids without, and they're asking for a feast. Every single character in the game has the ability to level up cooking and to be self-sufficient, but it doesn't mean that they do. Just like if you gave everybody herbalism and everybody mining and everybody skinning, it doesn't essentially mean that those markets would be crashed any more than they already are crashed by heavy farmers and bots. Just because you can do something doesn't mean everybody does. There's I mean, I know you've kind of got to go a little bit more out of your way to cook some food or to make a feast than running past a herb and picking it up. But how many people stand in the middle of a capital city and just wait for an instance queue to pop? Whether it be an arena, or they're standing around looking for an M+, or they're just chilling waiting for their raid. They're equally not going to be running past all these herb nodes and ore nodes in the first place to pick them up. Leveling cooking on 12 alts ain't going to happen. Well, and that. Like I said, just because somebody can do it doesn't mean they will. But those that want to do it and can take advantage of it and utilize it for a better experience with their professions, I think should be able to. Been selling so many buff foods this expansion, often for shameful prices. Haste food is 75 gold a piece and people are still buying it. There we go. People could very easily make that food themselves, but just because they can doesn't mean they do. What do you think in stockpiling huge quantities of Shadowlands materials now that they're ultra cheap? Generally, that's not always the best of ideas, but there are some materials that might still be worth something in the future, but there's really not that many. The simple and most obvious reason that not everybody will do gathering is simple. Bag space and clutter. Yeah, if you don't have room for that extra piece of ore, you might just choose to leave it. But another suggestion here is let the professions be remembered when swapping back to it from another. That lost progress makes diving into any other profession a depressing thought, as I either lose profession progress or have to level another character to simply progress a profession. I think it's a dumb and antiquated idea that a character can only learn 2 professions. I was going to say that if you allow people to retain all knowledge of their professions when they drop one to take another, at that point it's a loophole, isn't it? It's a loophole to allow you to have every profession maxed on just a single character, if you can just, go to NPC and switch them about when you need them. And at that point, yes, just give everybody the ability to have all professions. This is why it's not done. This is why they don't do it. They want to make, and for reference here, they want to make professions feel like part of, it's a community effort then, isn't it? If there's 7, 10, I don't know how many professions there are nowadays, let's just say there's 10 professions. If you can only have 2 of them yourself, then if you have 2, the next person has 2, the next person has 2, somebody else has 2 professions. You can all make the stuff that you need yourself, but the theory behind it is that you then craft extra stuff and sell it to the other people, and the same thing happens. It creates an economy, it creates a community. This is why they restrict you to having just 2 professions. That also is a massive reason to why I'm against them making everything bind on pickup. Soon as you make it bind on pickup, you cut all of those trade routes. You can't then directly trade stuff between one another. They then decide, right, well, if we're going to cut those trade routes, then we're going to give you this work order system that sits on top that allows you in a rudimentary, less efficient way to trade stuff again. Well, you know what the most optimal way to keeping those trade routes up and running? Bind on equip. You made a problem and then you sold us a lesser efficient solution. Which, let's just go back to how it should be. Bind on equip. Let people craft things. Because you only have the ability to craft things from 2 professions yourself, you can never 100% be self-sufficient on that character. So you rely on others being able to craft spare things so that you can buy them off them, and vice versa. Bind on pickup destroys all of that. Evokers are going to want 11 bags. I think everybody's going to want 11 bags. People are going to want as much bag space as they can get their hands on. That is for sure. Where's me tunes gone? Let's get some music back on the go. It's incredibly stupid that you can only have 2 professions at a time. I don't understand the unnecessary limitation Blizzard has put on professions. Sometimes I swear they just... Well, no. This is exactly for like what I just said. It's the trading economy. It's the community aspect that's meant to be driven by this system. It was a good excuse 10 years ago, but these days, with everybody having many alts with max professions, it doesn't matter anymore. If you've played the game for 10 years, you, yes, have lots of alts with max professions. If you haven't played for 10 years, it is far less likely you have an army of alts. If you are relatively new to the game, you do not have an army of alts. You might have 1 or 2 max level characters. But even then, that's 4 professions. You need 5 max level characters to be truly self-sufficient. And even, in fact, no, it's not even 5, is it? Is it 6 now? How many primary professions do we have? Tailoring, leatherworking, blacksmithing, jewel crafting, inscription, alchemy, engineering, enchanting. They're the crafting ones, so 8 crafting professions. So you then need 4 dedicated crafting characters, and then you've got gathering to go along with that. So you've got herbalism, mining, and skinning. So 11. So yeah, you need 6 max level characters to be self-sufficient. Which, if you played the game for 10 years, is a possibility. But for most people, it's really not. It means that you are going to be restricted in some way, shape, or form to how self-sufficient you can be with your characters on your account. and it puts a requirement on other people to share the load, which is why the World of Warcraft economy has always been very, very good. There are MMOs out there that have come and gone that would absolutely kill for the economy that World of Warcraft has been able to maintain. Every time an MMO has deviated too far away from what World of Warcraft has done, their economy tends to dip and fail very, very quickly. This is why I'm making such a big stink about everything going bind on pickup and everything being forced through the work order system. Because it's not good for the overall health of the economy in the game. I don't think it's going to achieve what Blizzard want to achieve. And I think what Blizzard have stated that they want to achieve that more community-driven focus. They want there to be a, they want there to be a, master blacksmith on a server. They want there to be a master leatherworking chest piece crafter. I think that's just fluff. I think that's PR, because in the very same breath, they then turn around and say, well, we'd also like to make the work order system region-wide. So you can't go in all directions there, Blizzard. One of those statements is bullshit, because they can't both live simultaneously. You can't have a closed net, tight, localized economy if you're also at the same time trying to make everything region-wide. It's not possible. So one of the statements is bullshit. Which one? Blizzard used to change bind on pickup materials to bind on equip once the expansion was over, but they stopped doing that for some reason. Still got way too many Blood of Sargeras in the bank. Yeah, not since... I'm trying to think. I mean, some materials they just straight up removed from the game, right? Things like Obliterum, they just straight up removed that from the game. They didn't even bother trying to change it in any way, shape, or form. They were just like, right, no, let's take this out. This is gone. I'm trying to think what's bind on equip now that was bind on pickup in the past. I mean, we really are going back in time quite a substantial amount, I think. The point is that bind on pickup should be a tag that's used on items incredibly sparingly, because every time you make something bind on pickup, you are cutting one of the economy trade link ties. And if you cut too many of them, the system falls apart. Primal Nether in TBC? Was Primal... Oh yeah, Primal Nether was bind on pickup, yeah. Frozen and Chaos Orbs? Were they bind on pickup? Oh, okay. I'd see. Now we're going back to like Wrath of the Lich King era and TBC. I can't remember the exact status of materials back then. But no, yeah, you're right. Chaos Orbs. You had to Frozen Chaos Orbs. You had to run heroics or better to even get them. Yeah. I'm not against bind on pickup materials so much. As if anything, it adds a barrier to entry and limits the industrialization of the crafting professions, at least to a degree. The way I'll get around it is just by having all of the professions and having lots of alts and giving myself many, many different markets to be in. I almost go as far as to feel that having a couple of bind-on pickup materials is actually good. It teaches people that they shouldn't put all of their eggs in one basket, because they'll never be able to, monopolize that one market completely themselves. Meaning that, okay, right, well, if you can craft a couple of things with some special bind-on pickup components, it then becomes your prerogative to try and sell those for as much as you can get for them. And it also then incentivizes you to also craft other things alongside that, diversification. But when every single item that you craft... actually, I'm going to do it for this as well. Excluding materials, how many different crafts does tailoring have? These are finishing reagents as well. I guess these can be counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. 74. Where's my little sheet? 74 new crafts for tailoring. 74. That's in line with both blacksmithing and inscription. Inscription had 73, blacksmithing had 75. Now, how many of those are bind on pickup? Now to find the bind on pickup stuff. What percentage of everything is bind on pickup for tailoring? Okay, nothing so far. This is good. Well, these obviously are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. PvP gear is going to be bind on equip. Good. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, bind on equip again. $29. Okay, that's much better. That's much better. That's better to see. That's only. It's better to see. It's still not great. That's still 40%. 40% of all the new craft. Well, 39 point something. That's still basically 40% of all new crafted items with tailoring are bind on pickup. Things like these, right? The profession stuff. This has absolutely no need to be bind on pickup. This is their way to guarantee that you have to use the work order system. There is no reason why this should be bind on pickup in any way, shape or form. There's no reason this should be forcibly put through the work order system. You know why? Because the work order system is meant to be a custom order system. Where's your custom order on this? What are you customizing to order this? There's no customization to be had. Let tailors make them. Let tailors list them on the auction house. If somebody wants to save themselves the price of, you know, because artisan's metal is going to be the bind on pickup material here. This being bind on pickup means that this doesn't need to be. If this is bind on pickup, a tailor can use their own to craft one, and then they will price it on the auction house at a value that they deem sensible for their artisan's metal. If they consider each artisan's metal 500 gold, well, there's 2,500 gold for this, plus whatever these cost. You'd post this on the auction house for 3,000 gold. Or if somebody has a bunch of artisan's metal and doesn't want to spend 3,000 gold making this because they have a bunch of spare ones that they're willing to use, then they can put in a work order that provides the artisan's metal and then maybe a tip of 500 gold on top to cover the cost of the other materials, and then buy this through the work order system. It's slower, but it means that that player that's looking to buy it doesn't have to spend 3,000 gold in total. They can spend just a 500 gold tip and use their own materials to help get it. What is the problem with that? That's the choice that I'm advocating for here. That's the choice that the work order system should present people. But no, make it bind on pickup. It means the only way that these are going to trade hands is going to be via the work order system. So the only way you're going to get one of these is via the less convenient method. They don't need to be bind on pickup. There's only one reason why they are bind on pickup, and that's to forcibly make people use the work order system. Increase intellect by 404 and stamina by... That is a lot of stats. That is a lot of stats. 404 intellect and 404 stamina. That's literally more than an entire item's worth of stats, right? At endgame. 400 stam, 400 main stat is the equivalent of wearing a second chest piece. Pretty much. My lord, they're powerful. Those spell threads are powerful. That's not that's not a meaningless amount of materials there. That's chunky. Intellect by 135 and mana by 3%. That doesn't seem quite as chunky. What would you rather have 135 intellect, or would you rather have 404 intellect? Maybe some adjustments needed there. 81 intellect. Oh, I guess this is the cheap one. This is the baby one. This only uses vibrant shards and wilder cloth. These ones are using essences and high tier reagents. So there's your baby spell thread. There's your bare minimum 81. But if you want the big boy one, fair amount of money to be made in those, I reckon. Bags then. We've already got 4 bags on the go. Chrono cloth reagent bag. 36 slot reagent bag. Oh god, 36 slots is not going to cut it. 36 slot. Eh? 36 slot reagent bag. Simply stitched reagent bag. Spool of cloth and a cloth bolt. Or you can have a 36 slot reagent bag that costs twice as much. Bind on equip, bind on equip. That doesn't make a lot of sense. 32 slot regular bag. And then a 34 slot regular bag. So say hello to 2 more slots per bag. Unless, of course, you already have, what was it, Papa's big new bag or something. There's a 34 slot bag you can already get in the game, isn't there? I'm surprised they didn't bind on pick up the bags. You and me both, to be honest. But it's blue. That's it. But it's blue. Papa's mint condition bag. There we go. Don't you have one more bag slot, though? Well, you have one more reagent bag slot. This isn't a regular bag slot. You can't put a regular bag in there. You have to put a reagent bag in there. But we now have over triple the amount of... there's over 3 times as many materials in the game. Because you have, in many cases, tier 1 quality, tier 2 quality, and tier 3 quality. So, sure, it's nice they gave us a reagent bag, but I still think 36 slots is a bit of a meme. That won't even hold all of your gems. You've got five different colours of gem. If you're a jewel crafter, for example, you've got 5 different colours of gem. Of each of those 5 different colours of gem, you've got 3 quality levels. So that's 15 slots that are needed just to allow for you to have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 quality prospected gems, raw gems, uncuts. That's just the uncommon gems. You also have to double that because there's rare gems as well. So your 15 goes up to 30 then. 30 slots are taken up by jewel crafting gems alone. There's also the epic gem. So that's another +3. So there's 33 slots. So 33 out of your 36 slots could be taken up just by your raw uncut prospected gems. Where does your ore go? Where does everything else go? Where does the fractured glass go? Where does the gem dust go? Where does that random fish that you pick up go? Where does all of the random meat that you pick up go? There's over 3 times as many materials. We are going to run out of bag space horrendously, even with a dedicated reagent bag. You think you run out of bag space now? Not even close. If you have a gathering profession, and you are just going to have so many reagents kicking about in your bags, it's not even funny. But either way, there's some bags all the same. Duck stuffed duck lovey. What? Take a nap with your favourite ducky. 10-minute cooldown. We're going to have to make these toys do what these toys do. Forlorn funeral pal. Covers a recently deceased in a mourning cloth. Wow, that's really sinister. A small token of respect for the recently deceased. Do you guys not have jumper cables? Okay. For the RPers out there. Explorer's banner of the Dragon Isles flora. Place a banner that focuses the will of nearby herbalists, granting increased deftness and finesse when gathering for 10 minutes. Only usable in the Dragon Isles. 1 hour cooldown. Oh, tier 1 quality has a 1 hour cooldown on it. Tier 2 quality has only a 10-minute cooldown on it. I wonder if there's a tier 3 quality one. Reach skill 200 to guarantee quality 2. That leaves me the impression that there's a quality 3 version of this, which might then have an even lesser cooldown than 10 minutes. Mainly because the very first thing I thought of there is that, great, you drop a banner, but that allows you to pick up, maybe if you're lucky, 2 herbs before you fly off again, unless there's some sort of seed raid style thing on the go. Hopefully, maybe they've got something planned for herbalism. Is this going to be the same for geology? This one's for miners. Does the same thing but for mining. Same again. lesser cooldown. Oh. Or maybe not. The quality 2 one is exactly the same as the quality 1 one. Okay. Maybe we need to craft some of these. Maybe we need to find out. Explorers League, Explorers League Exploring Tent. Place an Explorers League Exploring Tent to rest and relax. Means you can probably instantly log out wherever you are. Kind of helpful. Drop a banner for your gathering bros. Maybe. A cold cushion. Place a cooling cushion to soothe a rough wipe. Use after rough wipes. That's quite clever. That's quite clever. See, I do like that Blizzard does have some sense of humour. When your ass has been annihilated, then there's a cold cushion for you to sit on. Cushion of time travel. Place a time traveling cushion that can be sat on and move you through time for 5 minutes on a 6-hour cooldown. It only goes forward slowly. So that basically means it does nothing. It's going to propel you forward at exactly the same pace. Okay. A market tent. Place a market tent to shop and relax under. Set up shop to peddle your wares or just relax under the awning. Can you imagine if that had an auction house in it? It's not going to, by the way. Weapon... Wildercloth weapon upholstery. Pads your weapon, reducing its damage to 1 for 1 hour. Hey? Is this a new foam sword? Is this a new foam... There's not even any reason for the foam sword anymore, is there? Well, I suppose the foam sword is occasionally helpful for if you are max level and you're going back like 5 expansions to complete some quests, and they're quests where you need to injure players to do something on them, prevent you from one-shotting mobs. Very, very niche scenario there. Alright, we need to start leveling some of this so we can have a look at the spec trees. I guess then I'm going to need a whole bunch of cloth. So who's going to give me all the cloth then? Fresh leather and hides. Apparently not you. Well, I'm going to need one of them to begin with. Who's going to sell me all of my materials? Oh, here we go. Tattered Wildercloth. Now we can buy Wildercloth itself. Spool of Wilder thread. Well, I guess we can make that ourselves with the profession, right? It's at this point I need to get my little notes out for tailoring. Tailoring, overview, leveling path, and thoughts. Right, leveling path. Let's have a look, see how tailoring plays out then. So we start off. They said there was going to be some sort of icon to indicate skill points. There's no icon, they're just white. Okay. Wilder cloth bandages. How does this work then? Let's put some tattered wilder cloth in here. What do we get from this? A spool of wilder thread. A quality 1 spool of wilder thread. So does this mean we're going to be somewhat... Okay, these buttons still don't flipping work. Let's turn on auto loot. Okay, we're gaining skill points from this as well, which is interesting. Seven. Skill 8. Skill... Skill 9. Skill 10. This is less intuitive. There's no icon to tell me whether I'm going to gain skill points or not. That was literally one thing that they said was going to be a thing. Has skill up. Apparently only the bandages provide me with a skill up. But what's the difference between this and this? How do I know that? How do I then know that? Okay. Did they not say there's meant to be some icon? I swear they said there's meant to be an icon for this. The recipe panel has been updated for better ease of use and clarity. Unlearned and pre-Dragonflight recipes are now found by filters. Recipe skill up chance is now represented through icons instead of recipe name text color. This change is more in line with the new recipe frame design. Okay, well that just doesn't work then. That just straight up doesn't work. What did they claim them to be? Skill up icons do not show. Okay, so I guess we are guessing. I guess we are guessing then. Alright, well, bango's my ability to try and work out a bit of a leveling path for this then. I guess on that premise then, we just make a bunch of stuff and test it. Bit annoying because it's then really difficult to simulate. Really difficult to simulate the, you know, the progress you make through a profession, but sure. We can make a bunch of bandages. I like it coloured. It should be optional. Yeah, it should be a toggle in the accessibility options. If you have some sort of color problems, then there should be an option in here somewhere. Where is it? There's a colorblind mode. Enable color blinding mode, or some sort of profession skill up button to tick or something. I'm all for general accessibility, but you know, I can see colors perfectly fine. I don't need little icons. The system wasn't broken for me, so don't try and fix it. Okay. Well, that's just a general UI issue. We can make bandages, apparently. We're still gaining skill points from these, apparently. See if we can get to 15 with these. Apparently not. Seems to indicate to me the recipe's probably green now, but we can't tell. I mean, it could even be grey for all I know. Yeah, no idea. Trying out engineering, and I've got the icons next to the recipes. It might be tailoring or just my UI. Oh, really? Let me do a reload then. Let me do a reload. Okay. Still no icons for me here. Let me pick up engineering just quickly. We're going to play with this in a bit anyway. Let me see if the UI is... Oh! Oh, it's a tailoring thing then. 3 up arrows that are also orange. I guess it then goes to 2 up arrows that are yellow and 1 up arrow that's green. And then no arrows. Okay. So it's a tailoring problem. Okay, sure. Alright, fine. Recipe difficulty 100 on this basic entry-level stuff. Requires level 61. Item level 270. 270 to 280 seems very much what we'd expect from this. You can throw these training matrices on it. 30, 60, 100, and 150. Throw some secondary stats in there. So at skill 15 we can start to make the profession garments. It will give us inspiration multi-craft. We can make the first reagent bag, a nice 36 slot reagent bag. Requires Wildercloth bolts. Do we have the ability to make those now? We do. So now we take 5 Wildercloth and turn it into a Wildercloth bolt. So that seems to indicate that Wildercloth won't be too difficult to get our hands on. And it presumably also means that when it comes to unraveling, you'll probably use the lowest quality or the tattered Wildercloth wherever possible. Unless the yield by... If you... what do we get from this? Do we get more for twiddling? Oh, okay. We got 4 spools of Wilder thread there. We got 4 spools from doing Wilder cloth. We just like make 5 of them. Plus 3. Plus 4. Plus 4. It's still only quality 1. Plus 5. So there seems to be far more of it that you get from here. If you use tattered stuff, the yield is less. You're only getting like 1 or 2. So okay, well that's cool to see. This was one thing that was busted with like milling and jewel crafting. Milling and jewel crafting, you know, it didn't matter what you prospected, you got the same thing every time. But this is good, that it means that you are going to get different yields of spool. You're going to get more spools the higher the quality of the cloth that you twiddle, which is good. Down for some of that. Let's make some wilder cloth bolts then. We're probably going to need this for a bunch of stuff, I would imagine, anyway. $200 recipe difficulty on the bolts. Anything where the recipe difficulty is above 100 means that if you want to specialize, if you want to be able to make top quality stuff, you are going to need to specialize into it in some way, shape or form. You can only gain 100 crafting skill from leveling the profession itself. So on certain basic stuff, you can see here, the recipe difficulty is 100. You can, in theory, max out and make max quality stuff without any need for the spec trees or any form of specialization. So the basic stuff, your recipe difficulty is 100. When it goes above 100, though, you're going to need to specialize into it in some way. So even the intermediate bolts here, you're going to need to spec into in some way, shape or form to eventually be able to make higher quality bolts, which is fine. Reagent bags. Hang on, let's get to 20 and then see what else we learn. 19, 20. Cloak and a gardening hat. Are the crafter's gear sets in the alpha? Well, it's these, the profession tools and accessories. You can craft these. You can see we can make a couple of them now. We can make the tailor's coat, which is a tailoring accessory that gives you multi-craft and inspiration. We've just unlocked a gardening hat, which is a herbalism accessory. Gives deftness and perception. Deftness. Oh, how's this? Oh, okay. So we now have the braces, the boots, the robe, and the cloak. All of these, like I said, a recipe difficulty of 100. This is your basic crafted leveling gear. Nothing overly fancy to be expected from this. Can you actually see the crafter's gear equip on your toon? No, I don't think you can yet, no. We need to get to 25 then. Let's just make 5 of these. Didn't the cloak require tailoring? Bind on equip. Oh! Requires Dragon Isles tailoring 1. That's odd. Huh. That's a weird restriction. Good spot. Here you can have a bind on equip cloak, but you sure as hell better be a tailor. Huh. Okay. Feels very weird that they'd restrict the cape to you having to be... Okay. Hang on, we made some quality 1s. These are quality 1s. This is quality 2. Okay, so the quality step up is working. 270, 272 for quality 2 version. We're going to need some more skill before we have the chance to get to quality 3. We need 50 skill before we can make quality 3. Now we've got spec trees though. Let's take a first look at spec trees. 4 spec trees to play with. Tailoring Mastery. Specialize in the art of tailoring, improving your ability to use your limited resources economically. Source more resources from the Dragon Isles, as well as greatly improving the quality of all your crafts. So Tailoring Mastery is going to be... This is going to be your generic tailoring one. Plus 1 skill point for every rank. So you're going to want to throw 30 points in there as quick as possible, really. Tailoring is now 10% faster. You gain... Oh, earned at 30 points. Oh, so you... Okay. Plus 3 skill when making tailoring goods. Learn a sub-spec. Plus 4 skill when making tailoring goods. Learn a sub-spec. Plus 3 skill when making tailoring goods. So you're going to get, what is it, 30 plus 3 plus 6. So you're going to gain 40 knowledge in total from this one node when it's maxed out. Plus 40 skill points from the one node with the bonus of then tailoring stuff 10% faster, more inspiration and resourcefulness when making tailoring goods as well. We can then spec into cloth collection, which is not yet implemented, but learn to collect cloth from humanoids more effectively, gaining an increased chance for cloth to drop in the Dragon Isles by 1% per point in the spec. See, that's interesting. They've never really sort of quoted, because in previous expansions, we've always had it that tailors can gather more cloth, but it's never been, you know, they've never attached a number to it. It's just like, oh yeah, tailors get more. But 1% more cloth per point in this spec, and you can put 50 points in that tree, in theory, meaning that you are going to gather 50% more cloth than a non-tailor. By the way, you mentioned making a potential investment list prior to the auction house merge. If you're planning on doing that, it needs to be fairly soon. Deals will be gone by Friday. Yeah, you're right. You're right. If I get to it, I'll get to it. I'm less focused on retail at the moment. There's also a lot of stuff we can get from this, so it's increased by 10% just by unlocking it in the first place. Chance for cloth to drop from humanoids in the dragon, plus 10% again, so that's plus 20%, plus 30%, plus 40%, plus 50%, plus 60%, plus 70, plus 80, plus 90, plus 100. On top of the 50 it offers, so you're going to gain 150% more by the time you've maxed out this one. And then finally, learn to rarely collect bolts of wilder cloth off humanoids in the Dragon Isles. So that's going to be like a 5x proc over normal. So yeah, Tailors are going to gather a lot of cloth the more points they put in this, for sure. Why Friday is the 927 date announced? Yeah, not announced, but we were half speculating that it could have gone live, this reset just gone. Because on the PTR it's release candidate. It went release candidate on August the 4th. So the fact that it didn't happen this week means it's almost guaranteed to happen next reset. Almost. It will, there'll be a video on it at some point this week. I don't know what day though. How many cloth did the bolts take? If you can... Okay. So yeah, looting a Wilder cloth bolt is the equivalent of looting 5 pieces of cloth. Okay. We also have sparing sewing. Use materials sparingly.
Let's make sweet profit together.
Zinpal, thank you very much with the Prime Gaming. Appreciate it. 8-month streak. Love that stuff. Thank you, thank you. General ass resourcefulness here. Save 5% reagents when crafting tailoring goods. Plus 10 resourcefulness. Resourcefulness saves 10% additional reagents when it procs. Plus 10 resourcefulness stats. Okay, these are all the same. This is just a straight up resourcefulness tree. Save an additional 25% reagents when crafting goods. Meaning that any cloth you do gather can be converted into bolts and such more effectively. And then Shrewd Stitchery. Become meticulous in your stitching, gaining +1 inspiration per point in the spec. Inspiration grants 5% additional crafting skill when making tailoring goods. Maybe a good path to go if early days you are really pushing to make top quality stuff. Although I do wonder just how... Now, in theory, inspiration is the #1 stat to go for at the beginning, when quality is going to matter. But because it all depends on how the work order system works, because inspiration is a proc-based system. Sure, if you were crafting stuff to be... And the stuff you... This only goes to solidify my point even further. If the stuff you're crafting is bind on pickup, you want your inspiration to be as high as possible, because when your inspiration procs, it gives you bonus skill points, which is likely to then push you closer and closer to making the next quality of material. So stacking inspiration at the beginning, when you don't naturally have the skill to match the recipe difficulty, is a big win, because you have the chance to make higher quality stuff than you would normally be able to. But it depends how the work order system works, because realistically the stuff that you're going to want to craft at higher qualities anyway is the end game stuff, where it matters the most that it's the highest quality. And if the work order system only allows you to accept work orders that you can guarantee the quality of, then inspiration is pointless in that scenario. So we need to learn a little bit more about the work order system. It's interesting that now even the most basic cloth bolt has a crafting difficulty of 200. Well, that's going to be... This is because you're going to have 100 potential skill points just by leveling tailoring. You very quickly, when you spec into this, we worked out that there's, what was it, 40 potential. There's 30 points... 30 skill points that can be obtained by the Tailoring Mastery node. So plus your 100, that's then 130. There's another 10 points on top of that, so 140. You can spec in here, and then one of these, your resourcefulness and your shrewd stitching, will push you yet further. And there's probably some other spec trees here that aid in giving you specifically skill points for the bolts. So until you start specializing in it, you need 100 skill points to guarantee quality 2, So with a bit of leveling and a little bit of specialization in, you know, just general crafting ability, you might be able to get to quality 2 bolts quite quickly, quite easily. But if you want to be crafting those quality 3 bolts, you are probably going to have to deep specialize to be able to do that. And that's all good and well if quality 3 bolts actually make a significant difference to the quality of the items that you're able to craft out the end of it. There's a bit of a, in my opinion, there's a bit of an imbalance between how quality is being represented. Quality matters a lot for materials, but it seems to matter substantially less out the end of the crafted items. When a piece of gear can go from quality 1 being item level 270 to all the way to quality 5 only being item level 280. There's only a potential 10 item level increase. There's a very, very heavy weighting of quality on the material end. Even we've seen this through the gathering so far with skinning. Until you are max skinning, you are never getting quality 3 components. Part of the spec trees for skinning is to allow you to make higher quality materials. There's a big emphasis on getting better materials. The problem is if there's not the payout for the crafters to use better quality materials, they won't spend the extra, they won't buy them. Did you notice any non-repeatable profession quests that give a sizable amount of knowledge? Not so far. We found a daily quest for each profession that gives you 3 knowledge points a day. But there doesn't seem to, at least so far anyway, be any quests alongside it. But it's super early days for that sort of stuff. What does Textiles do then? Specialize in the textiles crafting powerful equipment, learning how to become an expert at unraveling various pieces of cloth, weaving that cloth into bolts, and embroidering various items. So we have textiles, improve in the more specialized aspects of tailoring, including the creation of various reagents and specialty items, gaining a skill, +1 skill per point in this spec. Speciality items and reagents. I wonder what's going to be considered a speciality item. A speciality item is presumably... Is that going to be finishing agents? I wish they'd use the same terminology to make it easier to understand. Learn how to use special finishing reagents in order to improve the quality of your speciality item crafts. It'd be much easier if they just called them speciality items, you know? Is a spell thread considered a speciality item? Presumably. It makes the skill trees a little ambiguous to like, well, what is this actually providing me a bonus for? Plus inspiration, learn a subspec, plus crafting speed, learn a subspec. Resourcefulness, learn a subspec, and then finally the finishing reagents. Okay. Spinning then, become an expert at unraveling cloth and spinning various threads, gaining plus skill. On unlocking this spec, learn to occasionally extract rousing elements from certain types of wilder cloth during the unraveling process. Okay, there's a second source for the essences then. Essence of, you know, earth, fire, frost, all of that sort of jazz. The rousing ones are the small mini ones. You take 10 rousing and you make them into an awakened essence. So that could be quite interesting if you occasionally acquire them when unraveling cloth. There's a shuffle option there. Buy cloth, turn it into thread, do something with the thread, sell the elements, Resourcefulness when raveling cloth, spinning threads, +5 skill when doing it, +15 crafting speed when doing it, +5 skill when unraveling cloth, +10 resourcefulness. Finally, with full 30 points, learn to guarantee an element from certain types of wilder cloth during the unraveling process. We saw there are decayed, singed, and frostbitten. Now, when you start guaranteeing elements, decayed sounds very much like the decay one. Hints in the name there. Singed might be the fire one. And frostbitten one is likely to be the frost one. So there's probably ways to spin these into threads and to extract essences from them at the same time. Almost kind of like prospecting. I like this. This is cool. Weaving then. What does weaving do? Become an expert in weaving cloth into bolts, gaining skill points in the spec. Also, here we go. This is going to directly then help when turning these things. These are, you know, getting you closer to that 200 recipe difficulty. It's going to come from this weaving spec. 20 multi-craft when weaving cloth into bolts, so the chance to proc bonus bolts. 20 multi-craft, 10 inspiration when doing it. 40 multi-craft when doing it, 10 inspiration. And then finally, an additional 15 multi-craft when doing it. All about giving you a better chance to make higher quality and more of them. And then embroidery. Become an expert at embroidering both simple items such as polishing cloth and intricate items such as banners and bags. Gain +1 skill point in the spec. Do bags have skill? Do bags have quality? Bags didn't have quality, did they? Please don't tell me bags have got quality. Bags don't seem to... Or maybe they do. Okay, bags don't seem to have quality, so that's a bit weird. It doesn't really matter about skill in relation to bags. In fact, what does skill matter for those items? Polishing cloth? Polishing cloths didn't have quality. Polishing cloth... Oh, polishing cloths do have a quality, sorry, I lie. 200 recipe difficulty. What's the difference between a 1 quality? Quality 1 is 6 resourcefulness, 3 inspiration. 8 resourcefulness, 4 inspiration. Okay. Okay. Up to 34 slots at a tier 5. We can hope. Okay, so there is some quality difference on these things. Banners as well. Did the banners have... these things? Oh, the banners had quality on them as well. Okay. Very minor benefit of this, I feel. But either way. Polishing cloth, banners, and bags. See, they state bags, but none of this, like... inspiration when crafting X, Y, and Z. Z doesn't have... bags don't benefit from it. Bags don't actually benefit from it. Bags don't benefit from it. Resourcefulness will benefit from bags, I suppose. Bags will benefit from resourcefulness. Learn to use embroidery thread finishing reagents on various cloths, banners, and bags. Was the... an Azerweave bag, a 34-slot bag that allows you to use an embroidery thread on it as a finishing reagent. What possible finishing reagent could you put on a bag when it only requires 1 of everything? Okay. Either I've missed something there, or that just feels entirely pointless. Increases bonus crafting skill from inspiration by 15%. Well, it doesn't matter because there's no quality involved. Oh, it increases the crafting speed. Okay. Maybe you just get to make bags faster. 15 reagents saved from resourcefulness. Okay. Okay. There's a very, very, very minor benefit that can be had from embroidery then. Seems like they may still get quality. It also may just, you know, they may just make it paint the picture that, you know, this tree is for bags when in reality, you know, it doesn't matter. Okay, Draconic Needlework then. Specialize in crafting highly unique pieces of equipment by communing and harnessing the magics of both the bronze and the azure dragonflight. Alright. Source the magic of the Dragon Isles to craft exceptional clothware with reagents such as azure weave and chrono cloth, gaining +1 skill point. +1 skill per point in this spec. On unlocking it, you get to go in one direction or the other. Plus inspiration when crafting items that use either azure weave or chrono cloth. Resourcefulness. Learn to use special finishing reagents that improve the crafting of the quality on items that use azure weave or chrono cloth. Same again, resourcefulness, more inspiration, and then the last sub-spec. So we saw that some of these things uses chrono cloth and azure weave. The gear. These don't use any of it, but some of the more speciality pieces. Didn't we find that some of them... Yeah, so we've got azure weave garments and chrono cloth garments. So you're going to be able to specialize in one direction or the other. What's the significant difference between them, though? So these are going to be two different specialization paths, almost. Hang on, where did it go? Come back. So shoulders, waist. So we got, hang on, for azure weave we've got shoulders, more shoulders. Oh, what, really? 2 sets of shoulders, chest piece, and feet. Waist, legs, wrist, hands, legs, waist, and helm. Okay. They don't really appear to be particularly difficult or different. What makes azure weave special and what makes chrono cloth special? Why would somebody pick one over the other? It's kind of weird that the tailoring items have fixed secondary stats compared to the others. Well, not all the time. This speciality gear does tend to, yes. But the regular vibrant set, which is your generic endgame gear, if you can call it that, this does have the ability to have your customization done on it. Which, for me, is where I feel that there might be a problem, because you are ultimately probably going to want to prefer the vibrant set because you can customize it exactly how you want it to be. Plus, this is also likely to be the set of gear that will upgrade itself over the expansion. These more speciality pieces, apart from the fact that there's like the mini set to them, where is it? There's the mini set. There's a 3-piece mini set on this. Is predetermined secondary stats. Oh, you can infuse this with power as well. Okay. I can't easily work out what the significant difference between these are. Your damaging and healing spells have a chance to store away moments of time. Upon reaching 20 stacks, gain a tiny amount of extra haste. Damaging and healing spells have a chance to invoke latent Azurweave properties. Dealing damage has the chance to grant piercing Azurweave, increasing intellect by 27. And healing has the chance to grant flowing Azurweave, restoring mana. The Azurweave just sounds better as a set, because it directly grants you main stat. Whereas this stacks to 20 and then only gives you a small amount of haste. Azurweave just sounds better. It's better for healers because it regenerates your mana. And it's flat main stat, which is always a winner. And it's all got the Radiant tag on it, meaning you'll only be able to wear a maximum of 5 pieces of Radiant gear anyway. Interesting. Okay. Unless something is... So you'd need to go into Draconic Needlework first. Azurweave Tailoring or Chronocloth Tailoring. If you go Azurweave, upon learning this, you learn how to craft the Azurweave bolt. So you actually have to spec into it before you even have the ability to make the items. Do you learn the patterns anywhere here? Learn to craft the Azurweave bolt. Inspiration when using it. Learn to craft the Azurweave mantle. You can then dive into Azurweaving. And then finally the Azurweave robe. So you actually learn 2 endgame patterns just by speccing into this. And eventually then you unlock this. Improve your connection with the magic of the blue Dragonflight, decreasing how quickly you exhaust the magic used to craft Azurweave bolts. What does that even mean? Decreasing how quickly you exhaust the magic used to craft Azurweave bolts. Bolts on a cooldown. Sounds very cooldown-like, doesn't it? Sounds very much like you may be restricted to how many bolts you can make. A spectacular bolt of cloth created with the magic of the bronze dragons. Decreasing how quickly you exhaust the magic. So yeah, maybe you can only make a handful of these a day, or on some sort of cooldown, and the more you spec into it, the faster you can make them. Multicraft, plus skill when making the bolts, plus more multicraft. Further improve your connection with the magic of the blue Dragonflight, decreasing how quickly you exhaust the magic used to craft Azul. Okay. So they are definitely going to be on a cooldown in some way, shape or form, and I presume it's a copy-paste on this side with Chrono. So there's the blue Dragonflight is the Azurweave stuff, and the bronze Dragonflight is the Chronocloth stuff. But outside of that, it's just copy-paste Reno. That kind of makes me feel that if they're going to make these, if they're going to make the Azurweave set and the Chronocloth set limited in terms of the chronocloth bolts are going to be on some sort of cooldown, your Azerweave bolts are going to be on some sort of cooldown, then the crafted gear better be absolutely popping. It better be considerably more worth the time, the effort, the gold, the expenditure, all of that, over your regular ass set of gear. And at the moment, it doesn't feel that way. Why would you not just choose the basic ass? Considerably more, doesn't have to piss about with cooldown materials. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe these sets end up being tweaked and adjusted to just be super OP. I'm sad to see them putting daily cooldowns again. I was happy when you could skip a day if you didn't feel like playing. This kind of forces you to log in daily for these sorts of things. Well, there is a simple solution to that, and it's to give you it's to have a charge system. You know, you can only you generate charges, and you can store up to 3 charges, and then you can expend those 3 charges in one go if you need to be. But you only generate 1 charge a day. It's a super simple solution to fix the necessity to log in daily, which I wish, if they are going to use daily cooldowns as a way to gate how many materials people have, I wish it would just be a charge system. You can log in once every few days, bang out a few. Takes away the necessity to log in every day. Okay. This tree, the Draconic Needlework tree, then, is really going to need the crafted gear to be worth the effort, because this seems to be a lot of effort so far to produce a set of gear that's going to arguably be considerably more costly to produce, yet sure, it's kind of cool that it has like a little set bonus, but I don't know, only time will tell whether it's significantly better enough than what is going to just be the generic crafting set. Not to mention the generic crafting set allows you to use things like missives to pick your secondaries and stuff. It's more customizable, which I presume is then what garment crafting is. Hey, we've seen this before. This is your generic gear crafting stuff. Improve at tailoring cloth armor to take on the most powerful foes in the Dragon Isles. Gain +1 skill point in this spec. Per point in this spec. +10 skill when crafting cloth armor. Learn a sub-spec. Inspiration. Learn a sub-spec. Resourcefulness. Learn a sub-spec. Do it faster, and a bit of everything else. And then you can go, presumably you just go in a direction to pick. We've seen this with leatherworking, we've seen this with blacksmithing, we've seen this with most of the other stuff that you work your way towards. And you know, if you go down this route, you will unlock the pattern en route, craft the vibrant Wildercloth head cover, put a bunch of points in it, get better at crafting it, and then ultimately, if you fill out the tree, then you can use the finishing reagents to improve the quality of it. So this is the one that people are probably going to go for. You want a bit of Tailoring Mastery, because this is going to affect a bit of everything. Straight up, just 30 skill points. 40 skill points, sorry. You're going to want a bit of Tailoring Mastery. Textiles, spinning, maybe, yes. Weaving, maybe, yes. Embroidery, not so much. Because the thing you would want embroidery for is to boost your ability to make bags. But bags don't seem to have any quality or anything, so there's not really much worth specializing in them. So Tailoring Mastery, definitely the first one for sure. And of course, if you're actively playing that character, the ability to just acquire more cloth. Big bonus. So yeah, Tailoring Mastery, S tier. Most people are going to want to spec into garment crafting to start unlocking the endgame crafts, to start fulfilling work orders. Draconic Needlework seems to be far too specialized without anywhere near enough of a benefit. At least how it looks at the moment. Okay. Right, well, let's start. Let's do what we usually do then. Let's grab 1,000 spec points so that we can easily keep track of just how much it costs to fill everything out. There's 500. Come on. Right, there we go. So now we can bang some points in here. Your first 50 skill points are usually pretty simple to obtain, so you can usually gain 2 spec trees pretty quickly and easily. So Tailoring Mastery and Garment Crafting are probably the 2 I'm going to want to pick up, or would suggest people pick up first. Considering this is just straight up. Oh, do we get Tailoring Mastery for free? For flea? We get Tailoring Mastery for flea. So we go Garment Crafting after 25 skill points. By the time we get 50, we unlock another one of these, and we probably unlock the last one at 100 then. Oh, okay. So we'll have 3 specs by the time we hit 50 skill. Oh, that's even better. So you're going to want to put 30 points in this, like real quick time. 30 points in this is actually going to give you plus 40 skill. So we gain 26. Yeah, we're gaining 26 natural skill points from our tailoring skill. And you can see there, 26 plus 40. We're getting 40 from the skill tree. That plus 40 is going to affect everything we craft. So we want to go here first. Okay, these don't seem to be guaranteeing skill points. What can I craft that's going to give me skill points? Maybe gear? $28, $29, $30, there we go. So as you can see, like the very basic stuff, gaining 50 skill points from our how are we gaining 50 skill points from our tree? We've only put 30 points in here. Oh, plus 10 skill when crafting cloth armor. We gain that straight away without even putting a point in it. So that's why this is now plus 50. So yeah, just purely by, like, literally within 3 minutes of the expansion going live, you could be at this sort of, you could unlock this, you could have this on the go. You're gaining plus 10 skill points just by for crafting. It's going to mean that you're banging out quality 4 stuff basically without trying. It's early leveling gear. Quality 4 without any issues whatsoever. This is why I think the rebalancing for some crafts on the quality needs to... I think having these basic bits of gear only have a recipe difficulty of 100 feels a bit weird for me, because your first skill points in a profession, you get them so easily and so quickly. It basically means nobody is ever making these at less than, like, you know, you're making quality 1s and 2s for about 3 crafts, and after that you are basically guaranteed quality 4, quality 5 really quickly in this sort of stuff. Don't think specialization points are that easy to get though. I would imagine the way they're probably going to do it will be that they'll front load you a bunch of knowledge so that you get some quick and, you know, juicy progression nice and quickly. Then, you know, the daily will kick in. The daily, you know, 3 points a day. Get your treaties from a scribe once a week that might give you, I don't know, plus 10, plus 15 once a week, something like that. I would imagine it will probably only average out to about 20, 25, maybe 30 points a week you'd be able to gather. But like I said, it's kind of hard to simulate just how it will plan out. I can do my best to try and simulate a real world leveling path and progression path, but it's difficult on the alpha. So now we can make a bunch more stuff. Without the little symbols, it's remarkably difficult to know what we can and can't craft to make stuff. But 32 slot bags, clearly not being balanced in terms of materials yet. Everything is using just 1 and 1. Yeah, everything has exactly the same material costs all the way through, so it doesn't really matter. We also found yesterday as well, we were out killing things, leveling up skinning, and a tome of something or other dropped off a mob. Not via skinning, I should point out. Just by killing things out in the world, we got a plus profession tome for leatherworking that just dropped from killing things. So there's also a likelihood that, you know, you could just by proactively playing the game, you could gather a bunch of knowledge in a very RNG random way. Soulbound. They weren't sellable. You couldn't sell it, but bind on pickup. Well, let's just. I have no idea what to make because I've got no indication of what's going to give me a skill up and what's not because the UI is broken. Well, that didn't give me a skill point. Well, that did. I realistically only want to get it to about 50. I really hope that they have some bad luck protection so I can just log in every X amount of hours, kill a bunch of mobs and get one of the tomes. Well, I'm sure people will work that out. Just like the, you know, through the Covenant Covenant trees. There was the Night Fae, for example, had the bag of herbs that would drop it like every 45 minutes. I'm sure people will game it and work out what's what. Okay, I'm just randomly crafting things now to try and gain skill points because my UI is broken, so I don't know how to level this effectively. I'm just pressing buttons now. No skill points from any of that. What about these? Well, that gave me a skill point. Where's me trainer? Teach me stuff. Alchemist robe and enchanter's hats. Let's make those. They're guaranteed skill points. Or they should be, because they're brand new. What is my dog doing? Brazing polishing cloth. Where did that go? There it is. Fractured glass. Yeah, see, this is the thing. This comes from jewel crafters. This feels very much like a jewel crafting finishing reagent. Doesn't seem to be anything that Tailor themselves are actually going to bother with. Feels weird. So I ended up farming Blood of Sargeras in a very lazy way. Bunch of alts parked at raptors. Log in every 2 hours-ish. Kill 20 raptors, loot, log out. Gaming the system there, my man. Well done. That's how we do it. Did you have leather working on the character it dropped the tome for? Yes. Yeah, it seemed very much smart loot. I was a leather worker and a skinner, and it dropped a tome for leather working. Seems very much like it'll be a thing that, you know, it'll drop them for your profession. Vibrant spell thread. Where's that then? Where did that go on my list? Here we go. Vibrant spell thread. We need vibrant shards and vibrant cloth. I need vibrant shards. Where do I get vibrant shards from? Somebody going to sell me some vibrant shards? Vibrant shards, anybody? No vibrant shards. This is less. You don't sell anything. Oh, that makes testing a little bit more difficult, doesn't it, really? Well, I guess we're not testing that then. We can't make these without vibrant shards. That's presumably an enchanting thing then. I need frameless lenses now from jewel crafting to further test engineering. Yeah. I see the multi-craft button finally works. Sometimes, occasionally. Not on everything though. How do I get 5 more points in this profession then? Oh, we gained 1 skill point for that. 2 skill points for that. That gives me an indication they're green. Maybe I just power through. Oh, another skill point. $49. Go on, give me 1 more point. You will. I know you want to. I just want 50 skill points to unlock the next tree. God damn. Maybe I need more spools then. See, this is where the craft all button doesn't work. How do you feel about the quality system in crafting now that we see more of it? I still share a very similar opinion that there is a big emphasis on quality from a material standpoint, but that big disparity in material quality doesn't seem to translate well to end crafted items like I feel it should. I mean, the difference between a rank 1 quality is 270 and a rank 5 quality is only 280. There's only a 10 item level difference from going from one extreme to the other. Quality just doesn't seem to make as big of a difference on the crafted goods. But it's one of those things that you can never really determine just what actual value these items will hold until the game goes live. But I do worry that there's a much bigger difference between a basic tier 1 quality material and a tier 3 quality material, or that's the picture they're trying to paint. Through gathering, it's also hard because we don't have herbalism and mining yet, so a big core supply of raw materials, we don't know just how that plays out yet. If it ends up being that tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 quality materials are quite readily available through gathering, then it's fine. Then having the quality make a huge difference in crafting also wouldn't make sense. But at the moment, the way that skinning looked, the way that things like prospecting plays out, the way that milling was looking, is that they're putting a lot of emphasis on quality in the materials, but it doesn't translate well to end crafted products. Which ultimately means the problem with that is that in a couple of months after Dragonflight has been out and people have had time to level up their professions a little bit, they've got more skill points in the profession, they've spent a bunch of talent points leveling it up, they'll get to the point where these recipes are so easy to make at high quality in the first place that they can start using lower quality materials again. And that then basically means that nobody is going to care 1 iota about quality 2 and quality 3 gathered materials. The system could end up being have a really short lifespan, because once you can basically outskill the need for higher quality materials, which I think may ultimately be the core of the problem. That could almost be fixed by pushing the recipe difficulty of stuff up a little bit. Optional reagents that increase the item level to mythic also increase the recipe difficulty. Yeah, this is it. On the very top end stuff, it might matter a lot more. To make a top quality tier 5 quality mythic piece at the highest item level possible is probably going to be remarkably difficult, and it's that very one scenario where you may see the desire for higher quality materials. But you've got to remember that scenario is the 1% scenario. The other 99% of your crafting, you'll just do it with basic bitch materials and you won't care. Which ultimately then means that those tier 2, tier 3 materials won't really hold much value more than a month or so of the expansion going live. But then again, they're bind on pickup, so they might only sell for 5 gold tip. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The economy is going to be a little bit wacky. That's definitely safe to say. Come on, just give me one more skill point. One of these things has got to give me a skill point somewhere, right? There we go, 50. That's what I wanted. We've learned everything from the trainer. We can now spec into a third one of these, meaning... Now, do we not learn the if we learn one now, do we not learn the next one till we get to 100? It's weird that the decision when it comes to specializations, and this has been the same for all of the professions, the decision is not which one you take. It's more of a case of which one are you not going to get. Because you get 2 almost instantly, you get a third one very quickly. What you're really choosing with your spec trees is not which ones to take, but which ones to not take. Because it's going to take quite a while for anybody, even on a big server, to max out the profession. And it's not until you get to 100 in most cases that you get that final spec. So it's actually, weirdly, it's more about which ones you not take. Which one is the one that you would be happy to not have for the longest time? I think the one I probably would want the least is the Draconic Needlework. But some people may take this first even. I'm thinking for the purpose of testing, because this doesn't give me any new stuff to craft. This just... Oh, I don't know. Which one would I not want? I probably wouldn't want that one. Very much a tuning problem. Yeah. Kind of like the core, like there's 50,000 people on the server, 1,000 people crafting, only 20 crafts a day. There's 30,000 extra demand. True. Saw your tweet the other day about bind on pickup materials. Do you think they're tour-gasting the new order system? Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. There's only one reason in my mind why they're making 40 to 50% of all recipes bind on pickup. The crafts, I mean. The only reason why half of this stuff is bind on pickup is so that it has to go through the work order system. For the purpose of testing, whilst Textiles is actually a tree that would be remarkably sensible for me to take, I'm going to leave that one till last. Yeah, because I need 100 skill points in tailoring before I can take this one. See, this is it, right? You get halfway, you're 50% through. This can be done without touching a single work order, right? You can get here without a single work order. So you can unlock 3 specializations without engaging with another player at all, if you wanted to. And in theory, you could probably do this, assuming there's enough materials, you could probably even do this on the first day of the expansion going live. What you can't, though, do is unlock that last specialization until you basically fill 50 plus work orders. 50 to 100 work orders is what you'll need to complete to get from here to here. And at the same time as trying to fill those work orders, you will also need to be on the daily grinding out as many knowledge points as you can to spend on this. to unlock new patterns. So from here, for example, you'd probably want to dump points, as many points as you can, into unlocking as many different patterns and recipes. So there's our dragon cloth tailoring vestments pattern. That's interesting, actually. That's a profession equipment that comes through this as well. So just by unlocking this, you get the pattern. Then this is what you're going to hope that you can start fulfilling work orders for. I think the 0.1 patch will be super profitable. A lot of people will be leveling professions just to try them out. Some will be crafting some of their own stuff, but eventually laziness gets to everybody. I don't think you'll have enough knowledge to want another tree for a while. But you'll probably, I've already started to see this a little bit, that you will want to be dipping in and out of a couple of different trees. Because you're going to want, by the time you hit skill 50, you are very quickly going to want to have something that's work order bait. Because that's realistically going to be, this is probably, if my UI worked properly, this is probably now the only orange skill point guaranteed craft. Which means that if I want to get any further than 50, I absolutely need something to be filling work orders on. So you're probably going to want to go here quite quickly. But after unlocking 1 or 2 different patterns, you might want to slow down and you might want to start putting points in places like this, where you can, where you're optimizing your material generation, your material crafting. The intermediate crafts are going to be more efficient. They're going to cost you less materials. You might want to dip between both of them a little bit. Going hardcore on one talent tree and one talent tree only, you know, might push you to unlock more possible patterns, possibly, but at the cost of it costing you considerably more to craft every item and maybe not being able to craft at the higher quality. You're going to need these 40 plus skill points here to make these patterns that you pick up at higher quality. See, this straight away from the word go, I've literally only just picked this up. My skill is 155. I only have 50 skill points, but within a month, you're going to be easily within a month, less than probably, hopefully, probably. I can then start making these at quality 3. I'm a long, long way off making these at quality 4 though. So what you may then start to think is like, right, well, how many days is it going to take me? How many skill points am I going to have to burn into specs to even make a quality 4 one? Well, if it's going to take me up to 225 skill points, I need 75 additional skill. Now, if I start filling work orders for these, gaining some skill points, I'll get some of those points. But what might actually at this point be better for me to do is to be content with quality 3, but to keep my material costs down. I do really like the spec trees. I do really it gives crafters a reason to think about things. And of course on the alpha, and what will be the case on the beta, is that because we have cheat points available, you don't really feel the full effect. You don't feel the proper pacing. But when you're only getting 3, 5, 10, 20 knowledge points a week to spend, you've got lots of time to think where's the best place to put them. Where's the best use of these talent points that I have right now? Right now, unlocking a pattern or 2 is probably a good use of the points. But once I have a pattern or 2, I'm not going to be able to make them at super high quality just yet, regardless of what I do. So maybe spending a few points on keeping my materials cheaper to make, improving my resourcefulness in that scenario. Maybe even going along the lines of, you know, putting cloth points into cloth collection. It's going to be the early part in the expansion where I'm playing the game more. I'm in all 4 zones all the time, every day. I'm spending loads of time, and my cloth collection, any piece of cloth that I gather is one piece of cloth I don't need to buy off the auction house. Now, I know I farmed it so it's free is not a thing, but at least it's it means you're not paying the premium by buying it off somebody else all the same. Last time crafters were desperate for points, they were paying people to let them craft something. Recipe for disaster with the work order system. Oh, definitely. Now, I will fulfill a work order for free if it gains me a skill point, without question. If they're providing all of the materials, I don't want a single gold for a tip. I'll click that button just to gain the skill point. Oh, without a doubt, it's the same scenario. Skill points will be worth a lot to begin with, because for every point you get in your profession, that's plus 1 skill. That's one tiny little step further to be able to make something at better quality. I will absolutely fulfill work orders for free just to get skill points. No doubt in my mind. I will even probably go as far as to fulfill work orders where they don't even supply all the materials, as that will be, you know, somewhat of a way for me to pay for skill points. Just like what it was with lower rank of legendaries. We need the support to be able to set a fee instead of a tip on the work order. The crafter has to pay 10,000 gold to fulfill this work order. Can you imagine? Negative tips. You just put a negative number. You have to pay me 5,000 gold to craft this for me. It will basically end up being you supply the soulbound ones, and that'll be the thing, right? On an item such as this, if they provide the sparks of ingenuity in the primal chaos, I'll cover the cost of these just to press the button. No problem. No problem whatsoever. Whatever these 2 things cost me to make, sure. If I press the button and get a skill point from it, no problem. You provide the bind-on pickup materials, I'll provide these. 0 tip, boom, I'll press that button all day long, as long as it gives me a skill point. No problem. This is the thing, right? This is why I say from the very word go that the work order system is not going to be a good way to make gold with. There's only one person that will actually make gold with the work order system. The person that will make gold with the work order system is the person that can craft the tier 5 quality crafts first. They will make an absolute murderous amount of gold, because they will instantly be able to fulfill all of the work orders for the best in slot gear without any competition and be able to sit and wait for maximum tips. That will be the only person that will make gold with a work order system. Everybody else will be scrapping to fill work orders to gain skill points to catch up with that one dude. Kind of like the first person who unlocked the new crafter's mark. If you were K-Chak on Draenor on the launch of patch 9.2 and you unlocked crafter's mark, whatever number it was, nearly 24 hours earlier than everybody else on the server, you then get to sell all of your wares and fulfill all of the work orders that your heart desires until somebody catches up. There's a cap on fulfillment orders. Well, there may be a cap on fulfillment orders on the public market. That doesn't mean that if you holler in trade that there might not be the same cap on personal orders. If somebody directly asks you to craft it, you'll craft it. It'll cost you 50k if you want it today, though. They don't necessarily need to know that it will be free the next day. But yeah, there's a lot that rides on the strength of the work order system. And I am maybe skeptical, maybe pessimistic, I don't know. But I do not believe that the work order system has anywhere near the strength to hold up everything else. It's got weak little deer legs. Can't carry a lot on its back. It's gonna crumble. Needs the support of the auction house to prop it up. Did you see what I mentioned about this being a cloaked legendary system in terms of time gating for the players? They're simulating rank 1, 2, 3, 4 legendaries being available week 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of the gate being Soul Ash, though, it's going to be Crafter's Knowledge. Oh yeah, it's exactly the same system again. It's exactly the same system. This is the thing, the work order system. The reason I kind of think that the work order system doesn't really have much strength to it is because day 1 of the expansion, people will go and they'll place work orders for tier 5 quality end game items that will never ever 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 be possible to fulfill until the crafters have enough time to get the knowledge and to level themselves up. The emphasis is being, see, it's the same system. You're exactly right. It's the same system. But instead of what happened with legendaries being that crafters could just go ham and they could unlock rank 4 on day 1 technically and start selling rank 4 base items on the auction house, people could then buy those rank 4 base items. They're like, oh my god, a 235 rank 4 Shadowgaster ring has appeared on the auction house. Oh my god, yes please. And then they realise that, oh shit, now I cannot acquire enough Soul Ash to actually use this for another 4 weeks. It's the same system, it's just the emphasis is in the other direction. The crafters are going to be able to put in those public work orders for things that it's impossible to make. It doesn't matter what tip they put on there. It doesn't matter. Nobody can fulfill the order until crafters, you know, catch up. It's a safer solution that way because it doesn't fuck people over. There was a real... My moral compass felt a bit weird selling people rank 4s in the first week, knowing full well that there was nothing they could do with that item for another 3 weeks. But I knew how the game worked. It's not my fault somebody else doesn't. Don't forget that the public orders don't even specify quality. Well, at the moment they don't. I mean, I know that we've seen the first draft of the work order system. It is unlikely to look even remotely the same or function even remotely the same by the time this game goes live. I really hope that maybe I'm huffing copium pretty heavily on that one, but alright then, well there's not actually, in regards to the leveling of tailoring and the patterns that we obtain, there's not much really I can do to zerg this more, or much more I really need to do. The UI is busted, so it's a pain in the ass to try and work out what gives me skill points in the first place. Spec trees, I think I've broken them down in as much detail as I need. I think I might leave tailoring here for the moment. Mainly because it's at a good point for me to talk about it from a... In fact, what I might need to do, actually, I might need to unlock some more of the recipes. That should give me the slacks. Oh, whoa, how many points can go in here? Jesus, there's 4 sub-trees on this. You put in 50 points in this? Plus 50 points on that? there's only plus 40 points on that. Why is there 4 on here? Why didn't they put a third one over here? One of these needs to go over here, otherwise these two are going to be seriously unbalanced. If this is giving you plus skill points for hands, feet, head, and back pieces, you go here first. Because every skill point in here is multiplicatively effective. Every skill point you put in here affects 4 different potential items you can craft. Every skill point you put in here only benefits two items that you can craft. So you put skill points here first, then you put skill points there, and then you put skill points there. This needs to move, one of these needs to move over here, so it's 3, 3, and 3. I tried to have some morals, but the end, a large enough chunk of the gold fixes that problem. For example, Shadowgast rings, like rank 4 Shadowgast ring. I sold one in the first week of Shadowlands because I leveled up jewel crafting like instantly. I had rank 4 Shadowgast ring and neck within like a couple of days of the expansion going live. I sold a rank 4. It sounds weird, right? I sold a rank 4 Shadowgast ring for 400,000 gold. Within about 20 minutes, the person that bought it had listed it back on the auction house. Because they'd obviously bought it and then realised they couldn't use it for a few weeks. And that happened a lot in the first couple of weeks of the expansion. That happened a lot. Can you fill the whole tree, or will you be limited? Do we know yet? Eventually, you'll be able to fill the whole tree. Yeah, for sure. It's just a limitation of knowledge points. Knowledge is what will be drip fed to you. Yeah, my initial thought is, why would you not go 10 points in here, 10 points in here, after 20 points spend, instantly unlock the cloak? Vibrant Wildercloth shawl, because this is a back piece. Why would you not give yourself the... Because every man and their dog might want one of these. Literally every single player in the game might want one of these. This is one advantage tailors and their cape making abilities have always had. That they make a piece of gear that's not restricted to your armor type. I think you always go whichever tree gives you cloak. Yeah, yeah, like this is the absolutely 100% first thing you're going to unlock. Work orders on this are going to be competitive, but you absolutely are going to unlock the cloak first. Then it's game theory thing again, because every tailor's going to do the same. True, true. But I tend to go by the theory that I'll do it better than others, it's fine. You only need to be one step ahead of everybody else and you win. So your first, you unlock garment crafting, 20 points gets you the cloak. After 20 points here, you go into Tailoring Mastery, you dump 30 into here. So your first 50 points, 30 in here, 20 in here. That then means you're making cloaks at an acceptable level. With the addition of maybe some better quality. Yeah. With just using tier 2 quality thread, you're then making tier 3 quality ones of these relatively quickly. That's a stinky win for tailors. With so many lizards around, it could be great to unlock all of the mail armor stuff soonish. Oh yeah, my leatherwork is going mail spec first for sure. My main character's leatherworking and jewel crafting, so I will spec into what they call chain armor, which is mail. Chain armor will be the path I will go first, and then just jewel crafting I haven't decided, but anything I can do to level it up as fast as possible. If you're a tailor out there, you go this route first, almost without question. Unlock capes, unlock cloaks, start fulfilling work orders on cloaks. That's going to be your ticket to cheap and easy skill points past 50. Bang out these as much as possible. Make your crafting of this as effective as possible by putting 30 points in here to begin with. That's going to give you plus 30 skill points. Not to mention, does it affect the ability for you to craft that cape better? It also then improves your ability to craft anything better, because this is generic skill points, the most powerful of skill points. Then you might want to start just putting more points in here to fill this out, because each point in here does give you plus skill when crafting armor. So you probably want to max this out quite quickly. And then you probably want to max this one out also quite quickly, especially considering you can, in theory, pump 50 points into this, gaining 1 skill point for every point. So yeah, this one, this one, this one. What does this do when you actually plus? You put, what is it? You put 5 points in, and then you gain plus 10. So that's actually 3 points for every knowledge. 3 skill points for every knowledge. That's monstrous. You put 5 points in this before you do anything else. Those 5 knowledge points are actually worth 15 skill. You're gaining 1 skill natively for each point, and then plus 10 by the time you get here. So that's plus 15 straight away. They are the most valuable knowledge points you'll spend. These 5 here. Because after spending 5, it's the equivalent of gaining 3 skill points for each knowledge. That's massive. That's 3 times as effective as spending knowledge anywhere else. This is inspiration. This is resourcefulness. Is there any skill points that gets dished out to you here? Resourcefulness. Okay, so you put, it's one skill, 1 knowledge on this, but you can go all the way to 50 with it. So you're just gonna fill this up. You won't go much past 5, I don't think, unless you want to use the finishing reagents. But I mean, 5 points in this is worth the same as 5 points in this, so you probably would just max that out as well, actually. Because then at least you can use the finishing reagents. And then you continue to fill this until it's full. And at that point, you've spent 30, ignore these, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 120 points. Your first 120 points, 30 in here, straight down to cloaks. That is as strong as you're ever going to easily be able to make those cloaks. And that is fundamentally going to mean that you're doing tier 4 quality cloaks via work orders as fast as possible. And also give you room to customize secondary stats, because that's going to increase. You only need to maintain 300. Hang on, what's going on here? Yeah, you ain't gonna get to 5 anytime soon, but you could then also start customizing people's secondary stats and still guaranteeing rank 4. That's your tailoring path. That's what my tailor's doing. There's my first, ignore these, but my first 120 points all the way through here, all the way into here. pushing my crafting of those capes as high as possible, as fast as possible. And from that point on, it's an optimization thing. Either unlock more patterns, if I so choose. For every 10 points I spend then. In fact, at that point, I'll be able to unlock all of these anyway, because as you put points in this, you unlock these. And these become free unlocks. So actually, in doing that, you also give yourself the ability to make hats, footwear, and gloves really quickly as well. Yeah, this is the route you go. You don't put I mean, you could put points in these after, but it's probably a higher priority to get this up to quality 4 first. Then that's going to give you 4 different pieces of endgame gear that you can be fulfilling work orders on. Meaning that by the time you've done this, you should have fulfilled a bunch of skill like a huge amount of work orders, in theory. You should have then gained a huge amount of points more towards getting this maxed out. And every time you do fulfill one, that's 1 extra skill point. Yeah, there we go. There's the tailoring path to success. That's an easy path to success. That wasn't too difficult to work out either. And then once you've done that, do whatever the hell you want. From that point onwards, you've won the game. You've won tailoring at that point. You can make 4 different endgame pieces reasonably well. You can make the cape as good as you possibly can for the moment. You're going to need the extra skill points that you gain fulfilling work orders here. And you're going to then probably want to do something to start using these things. The Essence of Tier, which increases your skill by 30. That's going to be your ticket to making rank 5 quality ones first. So I go left and make all the filthy warlocks pay through their teeth because nobody's making the cloth chest pieces. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the irony is that the chest and the legs is probably the last one I'd spec into, because this points in here directly are going to benefit you in 3 crafts. Points in here are only going to benefit you on 2 crafts. Although their chests and their legs, so they're high stat items. These are low. Sure, your points here are giving you a passive effect bonus to 4 different bits of kit. 1 is the most powerful item in the game, but 3 of them are low tier piece. Although the helm, to be fair, is a high tier, high stat piece item. Feet and gloves, though, are just meh. Let's not forget that people can only use 5 pieces of crafted gear anyway. So people aren't going to be running around in full sets either way. Which, just like legendaries, might mean that people try to prioritize their crafted bit on a high stat area, maybe. As it's a more deterministic way of keeping that slot good. Okay. Right, well, that's tailoring done. And I think on that basis, that's probably me done for the day as well. I'm going to get me some food. I'm taking a slightly shorter stream today because I think it would be worthwhile me putting together a little video on tailoring. As it's the new profession, I'm sure there's a bunch of people that want to see it. I appreciate everybody joining to watch me learn and break it down live. Race to World First is going to be stinky with crafters. Can you imagine the filth they're gonna get up to? Oh, without a doubt. I find it almost impossible to believe that the big guilds out there are not going to have dedicated crafters. That you know, mythic raiders, seat 21, seat 22, seat 23 are going to be crafters. Right, you need to make sure that you can make this, this, and this when we need it, which will be in 2 weeks. Go. Do it now. Because you know the first 20 seats, the people who are actually killing the bosses, they're going to probably have their hands full doing a bunch of other stuff degenerate. They will let the crafters do the crafting thing, and there will be some filthy things going on for sure. Filthy things going on. It's going to be fun. But yeah, I'm going to go get me some food. I'm going to kill the stream here now. We'll be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll probably test engineering then. I probably am not going to go into quite as much detail as I have with this. Nah, who am I kidding? I probably will. I'll probably break it down in the same fashion. But enjoy the rest of your day, boys and girls. Happy reset for those who are playing Season 4. Go down those bosses. Go get yourself some gear. Hopefully there's not too many bugs kicking about this week like there was last week. But either way, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Expect a video on tailoring a little bit later. I'll eat some food and then I'll put a video together for tailoring. So that'll be out on the channel in a bit. Yeah, have a good one, boys and girls. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Peace.